been here for 20 years. Why stay for 20 years? And also, what propels you, what motivates you to be a part of Christian television?
Well, it's funny how God works, because I remember in university, I was trying to figure out what I was going to do with my life. And I took an introduction to media course, and it was a Christian university. So they talked about the way that media literally shapes the way that people think. They shape the way that culture is. They shape the way that politics are. That it's so powerful. They actually use you're probably too young to remember this, and I don't remember it either, but I learned about it in school. Orson Welles did a radio broadcast called War of the Worlds. And it was about an alien invasion, and they did it like a news broadcast, and when people heard it, they all started responding and selling stocks and doing all kinds of crazy things. They thought the world was ending, and they use that as an example of the power of media to change culture, to affect people. And it just got in my heart right then that I can be part of having that voice. I can be part of changing the way that people think. And that's what we do here every day at 100 Huntley Street. That's why I've been so passionate about staying here, is because the power of people's stories every day, talking about how Jesus has changed their life. You know, I always ask people, what does that feel like when Jesus comes into your life? You know, how does it impact you? I want to unpack it for people. We want to challenge people. We want to invite people. And then, of course, our prayer lines. That is one of the dearest things to my heart, and the people that do them. You know, that is the most important thing we do here. It's one thing to get on camera and talk to you. It's another thing to have those prayer lines where people can call 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. And, you know, if you look it up online, we're one of the first ones that come up. There's not a lot of people offering that service today with a faith-based, with an introduction to Jesus, with walking with the Bible, helping people come to know him. It just isn't out there.
You talked about life-changing, and I think that's so important. You've seen time and time again how our viewers have just responded to things, and responded to things that we've asked of them, responded to stories that you've brought forward. What's one of those stories that you can think of that you've just really seen how it's triggered our viewership to respond?
Yeah, actually, you know, our good friend Kalita, she's a singer, songwriter, you know, quite well known to our fans here. She was watching a piece that I did one day on trafficking in Cambodia, and I'd been to Cambodia preparing that piece, and it really touched her heart, and she'd experienced some abuse herself in her background, and she'd been praying, saying, God, what can I do? And so she called me up and she said, can you introduce me to these ministries? You know, can I make a difference? And so she ended up joining with them. She's done these yearly events at Christmas time, concerts. She's raised tens of thousands of dollars to make a difference in trafficking. And it was through the show, and we see it all the time, Maggie. You yourself have a ministry that you do because of a story that you did, that you did for the show here. Like, you yourself have been impacted. And we just think it's so important that we continue to tell these stories, that we continue to hold up the name of Jesus, that we continue to bring hope every day on the airwaves. That's why we're here today, because we know that Canada needs this. We know that our culture needs this. We're like a voice some days crying in the wilderness, Maggie, when you see what's out there. And, you know, this voice needs to be heard. We need you to join with us to keep doing this. We need you to call that number right now, 1-888-288-0003. We cannot do it without our viewers.
Well said, Cheryl. Thank you again.